Right, Dick, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Dick Brugman. My career at university came in two stages. I began in 1966. I got involved in everything. I knew I wasn't going to pass at the end of the year. I came back 10 years later, and everything that had seemed so difficult then, I just breezed through later on. But no, I was involved in everything that was radical.
Today is Wednesday, the 8th of August 2012, and we've invited you in to have a look at a whole series of photographs taken during Autonomy Day procession in 1967.
I remember Autonomy Day very, very well.
Okay, so we're just going to run this. This set is on our Flickr site,
Okay.
so I'm just going to run these, and as you talk to them, we can insert these into your voiceover. So we start with this first shot of the police at the top of town.
First thing that struck me was how this was before the police uniforms had changed. They were very dark blue. They looked almost black. They looked very imposing. The disposition was grim, especially from the students' point of view. They weren't going to put up with any nonsense from us. Police attitude generally have changed a lot.
I always like that shot because it reminds me of the little blue meanies from Yellow Submarine. You've got these students with flowers in their hair, but then you've got this authoritarian, very smart sort of, this sort of fantastic uniforms as well.
Somebody made millions of flowers. Lots and lots of different coloured ones.
Okay. On the day?
Yeah, we were throwing them to the crowd.
So was this July 1967? Do you remember the actual?
I can't remember.
Okay. So what was the state of play, with regards to, we hear a lot about 1967 being with the Beatles. What was it like here? Were the Beatles well known? Was that whole Summer of Love thing happening here at that time?
The whole Liverpool sound.
Yeah.
And the Beatles were at their apex of popularity. All You Need Was Love was very high on the hit parade.
Okay.
And they'd made that the theme for the parade.
Okay.
So I remember everybody was wearing signs saying All You Need Is Love.
Yeah.
I remember seeing two girls marching down the streets and they had it across their bum.
Yeah.
And the other one was Cotton McKenzie's. If you're going to San Francisco, you'll wear flowers in your hair. Which was the other thing. Everybody made those flowers, and everybody wore flowers, and flowers were being thrown into the crowd.
Okay. These are just some location shots taken from, I think, somewhere along King Street looking over the harbour, taken on the morning, and these were taken by Katherine Macneill. So with these images,
the BHP was still there.
Yeah, when the dockyard was still in operation. So we've got Cox Brothers, we've got all these shops and businesses that have just vanished for many years now. So it's always a real interesting... the way the landscape changes with the time is quite amazing.
And despite all that, Newcastle was a thriving hub.
Yeah.
Just before all these suburban shopping centres have been raised.
Yeah. So this we have at the beginning of the parade, which I believe was at the top of the beach somewhere.
Yeah.
Near where the bus depot used to be.
The old bus depot. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. So we've got these black and white images of floats. This is international cooperation, German-French clubs or something. So that was one of the floats. This was the council's culture, no fornication on.
Council's culture. I would have thought it would be counterculture.
Oh, no, it's council's.
No, it says council's culture.
Yeah. So I don't know what was behind it, but each float had a particular identity. Like you had art students.
I can't see the Newcastle City Council approving of that.
No. These are the buses, the double-decker buses with the travel lodge in the background. So I remember catching buses. This was a really interesting shot. That we need an international house.
Professor Rutherford was very interested in it.
Okay.
And he'd run an international house somewhere else before.
Oh, okay.
And I don't think he ever achieved it, but...
I remember sending this image to International House saying,
Yeah.
this is your birth image.
Yeah.
This is when you were just a creative idea on the back of a truck.
And then we didn't see nearly as many Asian faces as we do now.
No. So the parade wended its way along the beach. I don't exactly know. This is along, well, that's the travel lodge there. So
Yeah.
they've, I'm not quite sure of the route. They come here to the start of Hunter Street, which is now where Pacific Park lies, and you've got all these various shops. Shipmates is the one that. I mean, I vaguely remember my parents getting chips from around there. We also used to have a gelato place around the side, so I always remember that one too.
It's funny seeing the old Falcons and the mini miners.
Yeah. Intermingled in these shots are colour images, which you talk with the same with another camera.
And there's a geodesic dome, which was very popular at the time.
Okay, so I wondered what that was. I didn't know what this. Okay. A geodesic dome. So why have they got the seahorse and then they've got the geodesic dome? Like they put the seahorse at the front of the line. So what was significant about that?
I guess the different groups of students interested in different things.
Okay.
There might have been architecture students doing the dome.
Yeah, and you see the Vietnam War placards. There were a lot of them scattered throughout the night.
I think that one said something about looking after Vietnamese children.
Okay.
Oh, Lyndon Baines Johnson.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing that got me is besides the march, I also looked to the shop fronts that were there, and the people in the shop fronts, the cars, the students themselves. You're just wondering where these people are now.
And they still approved of the war.
These people?
Yeah, Australia hadn't turned against the war yet.
Okay.
And I remember one lady calling out, they should bring back the troops and bayonet you bastards.
Because the marches were controversial.
Yeah,
you were taking your life into your hands.
Certainly were, yeah.
That's another scene. That's
there's the hospital.
Yeah, that's the hospital. That little bus counter there. As we were talking about before, sometimes it's the most unassuming buildings and structures which force the mind to remember. I remember seeing that little square, nondescript building that just disappeared out of my life without no one ever realising. And then when I saw this image, that came flooded all the memories that of waiting at that bus stop, you know. And that whole bus shelter and the way it went off into a little parkland there, little garden.
That's right.
You know. Anyway, the geodesic dome, that's great, Dick, because I didn't know. I kept describing it as a molecular structure. These are the various images of the floats as they're going past. This was an interesting one to Aboriginal people.
So it was. That must have been just under stir in those days.
And this is the flower float. Happiness is hippiness. This was the one you were on.
That's it.
These are all the flowers. So you're on the hippie float. No, because you're on the other side, I think.
Yeah. They were just nice, wholesome kids, weren't they?
So I'm not sure what this is, Lowe's Loan, but the fish and chip shop with the giant burgers behind. You can see the proprietor standing at the window. We are the workers.
Newcastle was very unassuming, wasn't it? Forever young, I guess.
Love, not hate. There's some more of the...
All the way with LBJ. All the way up LBJ.
The Kosciuszko Cafe was another one. People seem to... This is the art school float with the council's culture. I'm not sure what they're alluding to.
No, I think it must be a play on words, counterculture and council's culture.
Okay, yes.
That's beginning. That must be Pacific Street.
Yeah. So the park has been cut off there and turned. The whole lot of it has been turned into parkland. And this is nearing David Jones, the former David Jones building, before a mall.
Holt, of course, he was the Prime Minister of the time.
Okay. And this is the ANZ Bank on the corner that later became a Kentucky project. Now it's vacant, I think.
I had a friend who worked there.
Now we're around, this is where the next set of shots were taken, around the corner of Auckland and Hunter. This is a big Make Love banner. So very much the summer of love. Superman is a junkie. This is the Buff Art float. They're all on the back of AF Toll trucks and Brambles
Isn't it
trucks.
funny? Yeah. Gale Brothers. I think they were a furniture shop.
There you are, in your green hat.
There's me. My wife. I asked her to come, but she couldn't today. And it says, let's get naked and smoke.
Yeah.
Anybody who's less likely to get naked.
I always thought this was a guy until I blew it out and I realised it's a very nice looking girl.
Yeah.
But she's dressed in sort of a coat.
Yeah.
It's a bit
as
deceiving.
many students did, yeah.
So they all have flowers in their hair, sporting Vietnam.
And this one flying through the air.
That's right. So do you still have that green hat? Or
No.
disappeared a long time ago?
Oh, yeah. And I've got a flower on the hat.
Okay, yes, a
I
purple
remember
flower.
my wife wearing flowers on her hips.
This is the Aboriginal float. One white
It is
Australian at
too,
university
it is
for every
too,
150, one Aborigine at university for every 20,000. So
It was very progressive for the time.
it was, and the mix of social. I mean, it wasn't just a drunken day. I can't imagine this occurring any time today. Students walking down the street. I mean, just an occupational health and safety nightmare. And it was all the way down the road. Quite not understanding how all this is going with it.
I think they did it spontaneously.
Okay. And then Katherine took a whole set in the park as well, so there must have been a splinter group that went through there.
Yeah.
It's good to see the Lehman Street figs in various stages of growth there.
And the old figs are still there.
And then the conclusion of the march, which was somewhere, I think, on vacant land at where the technical college was in Union Street.
I remember it being very active and people being much more involved than I think they are now.
I mean, I can see that students were interested in a series of issues. Those issues haven't gone away.
No.
We've got a different set of wars, we've got a different set of social
And
things.
nobody gets as involved or
No.
as upset about it now as they
Well-
used to. Some people from the SRC now formed the Revolutionary Committee.
Mm-hmm.
On Autonomy Day, we kidnapped the VC, the deputy VC, and we asked Godfrey Tanner,
Was that our committee at the time?
and he said no. He said, I'm too busy, but he gave us his tobacco pouch. And
I never
we
know
were,
Godfrey to smoke.
we were wearing, I think he smoked a pipe.
Oh, okay.
We were wearing these Revolutionary Committee t-shirts, and we were wearing black balaclavas, and somebody from the staff down here called the police, and they didn't see the humour in it. And they came and they confiscated their balaclavas. They released the VC and the deputy VC. He was saying, no, look, it's just a joke. And that actually made a contribution towards whatever it was we were pushing at the time. I can't remember the VC's name.
Don George? Morgan?
Yes, yeah,
George.
George.
Yeah, when you first replied to the image on Facebook, you mentioned the Beatles, you mentioned the Vietnam War. They were the two key things.
Yes, sure. Yeah, it made a huge impact. And as I said at first, the general public was quite behind the war. And eventually boys started to come home and body bagged. And lots of other things happened, and the whole of Australian society turned against it. And the boys were brought home. I remember the North Vietnamese tanks. driving through the American embassy, smashing down the gate, and there were American aircraft carriers out to sea, and all these jets were arriving on the decks of the carriers, and they had little bulldozers, and as soon as they arrived, they just bulldozed them overboard to make room for other ones. And that mustn't have gone down well in the American subconscious. They weren't used to defeat.
Anyway, thank you.